Every home, street lamp and factory relied on matches, small, cheap, disposable sparks that made modern life possible. But the flame came at a very tragic cost.
On this episode of Literally Victorian, we look at the matchstick makers with your host, Matthew Lee Hansen.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Matthew and I'm glad to be with you once again. Now then, Victorian Britain was lit by fire. In the match factories of 19th century London, thousands of young women and girls worked in air thick with poison. They struck no headlines, they wore no uniforms, yet their labour fed an industry that slowly destroyed them. This is the story of the matchstick makers and the invisible danger hidden in every box. By the mid-1800s, matches were a booming business. Factories could produce millions a day. They were cheap, portable and essential. Most match workers were girls and young women, often teenagers drawn from the working poor. They needed wages. Factories needed small, nimble hands. The work seemed simple. Dip wooden splints into chemicals. Lay them out to dry. Pack them into boxes. Repeat endlessly. But one ingredient turned this routine into a death sentence. White phosphorus. White phosphorus was used to make matches ignite easily. It was also violently toxic. Inside the factory, phosphorus fumes filled the air. Workers inhaled them all day, every day. At first came toothaches, then a swelling of the jaw. Gums glowed faintly in the dark. Skin turned grey. The bone itself began to rot. This disease became known as phossy jaw. The smell was unmistakable, a sweet, decaying odour of dying tissue. Surgery was the only treatment. Doctors removed sections of jawbone in a desperate attempt to stop the spread. Many victims died anyway. Those who survived were disfigured for life. The phosphorus was only part of the cruelty though. Factories were overcrowded, poorly ventilated, hot, loud and relentlessly paced. Workers stood for long hours, handling chemicals with bare hands. Fines were imposed for tiny mistakes, dirty feet, talking, dropping materials, arriving late. These fines could swallow an entire day's wages. Meals were eaten in the same rooms where chemicals floated in the air. Poison entered the body not just through breath, but through food. In 1888, something extraordinary happened. The workers fought back. At the Bryant and May factory in London, one of the largest match producers, conditions had reached breaking point. After a worker was dismissed for speaking out, hundreds of women walked out in protest. They demanded safer conditions, fair pay, an end to fines, and respect. This became known as the Match Girls' Strike. It shocked Victorian society. Young working class women expected to be silent and obedient. They had organised themselves. Public sympathy surged. Newspapers exposed the phosphorus danger. Reformers rallied behind them. The strike succeeded. It marked one of the earliest victories for organised labour led by women. The match industry could not ignore the scandal forever. Over time, safer alternatives to white phosphorus were introduced. Governments debated bans. Regulation crept forward, but change was slow. For years after the strike, workers still suffered. Industrial progress had always moved faster than compassion. The matchstick maker reveals a hidden truth of Victorian industry. Small objects can carry enormous human cost. Every cheap convenience demanded unseen sacrifice. Every modern improvement rested on fragile bodies. These young women were not criminals or rebels. They were labourers trying to survive. And yet their protest helped reshape the future of worker rights. The matchstick factories burned brightly in Victorian Britain, but their light came from poison. The girls who worked there inhaled danger so others could strike a flame without thinking. They were among the first to demand better and to be heard. Their story is not only one of suffering, but of resistance. And in that resistance, the modern labour movement found one of its earliest sparks. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, stay away from matches.